to The Night Before, a movie podcast. Each episode, we find a unique place in the city and share a drink and our thoughts about the movie we watched the night before. This is Lee, and I am joined, as always, by my husband, Jesse.
So we saw
The Lamb.
Lamb
Oh, Lamb?
the other day, which
Just
is funny.
Lamb.
The Norwegian, or the Icelandic title, I think, is The Animal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not when it translated it. The beginning of the movie.
No, I think that's what the word in Icelandic means.
Oh, okay.
But I think they renamed it Lamb for America.
Interesting.
All right, so where are we?
We are at circa 1949.
In
A
Tampa,
local
Florida.
place. We've done one other podcast from here in Tampa, Florida.
The Limbo.
How do you remember that?
Because I remember the podcast we do.
Anyway, it's like an outdoor beer garden. This is like our first real day of fall feeling in
For
Florida.
Florida. And it's probably in the mid-80s.
It might be, but it feels about 20 degrees cooler than it has felt. So we were itching to sit outside, enjoy a drink after a Monday of work. And so here we
78
are.
degrees.
78 degrees.
Yeah.
If it's in the 70s, it's fall in
Yeah.
Florida. So we're out here at circa 1949. We're sipping on a sour.
Mhm.
It's from the brewery Crooked Stave in Colorado.
It's a blueberry sour.
It's a blueberry sour. It's delicious.
That's good.
It's really good.
In our previous podcast about Midnight Mass, Part 2, Episodes 5 through 7, we talked about how we had just seen the movie Lamb that
Yes.
night.
We saw it yesterday.
And we haven't talked about Lamb
right.
since.
Right.
So we don't know if we even liked it. Right?
I'm going to say I know you pretty well.
So Lamb is the story.
I don't think I'm oblivious to it.
So we'll save the major ending of movie spoilers until after the music at the very end of the episode.
Right.
But there may be like minor spoilers as we talk about
As
the plot.
we talk about it. Yeah.
But I think most of the main point of the plot is described in the trailer anyway.
Yeah.
There's no surprises. So Lamb is the story
You know what you're getting into.
about, it's A24 makes it. It's in
And we
theaters.
love A24
We like A24.
movies.
It's in theaters right now, or I think you can rent it digitally now. But it's a couple in Iceland, I believe.
I think it's or Norway or something.
Yeah, the language is it's Icelandic.
Icelandic. Okay.
That's how I just figured, but they raise sheep on like a little farm.
It's a big farm.
Well, it's big,
There's
but
like
it's for them.
nothing around
It's
them.
just them. But
Yeah,
they don't.
they are
But I'm
kind
saying
of
by a little farm,
isolated out
they're just
there.
sheep farmers. They don't have other crops.
Yeah, but they're
So they do a field, but
they
they're
have
not really
fields,
growing anything.
But they don't grow anything. But it's to get the grass.
I guess so. Yeah.
They
for the
Harvest
sheep.
up the grass so that they can feed the sheep.
True.
Because when they take that thing that drags, they're getting the dead grass. for
Yeah,
the
you're right.
Sheep.
So the premise is one of the sheep gives birth to like a hybrid half sheep.
But you
Half
don't
lamb,
know this
half
at
child.
first.
No, but the trailer tells you.
I didn't look at the trailer that much. I honestly did not know that the lamb until they showed the lamb's whole body like later in the movie.
So when it had the little
I did
human
not
baby
know
butt.
that it was a half human, half lamb.
So what were you thinking when it had the little? Because for the longest time, all you see is like the lamb head and sheets. Like they're cradling. Obviously, you know something's wrong with this lamb, and they're like cradling it. They take it inside and they nursing it back to
okay.
health.
Here-
So all you ever see is its head and neck. So what would you think right when you
Should we
saw?
jump to that?
We already there. Yeah. I'm just curious. What did you think when you saw the little human baby butt?
I thought,
When you saw the
"What?"
lamb.
And then my thoughts immediately went to her husband is having sex with a lamb. A lot of people would think that.
No, I think that's the easiest route to go, but they never talk about that in the movie.
I know, but there's a lot of unspoken things. So I think a lot of the movie until the end, I thought the husband is having sex with the
Or the sheep.
sheep, and they have this baby, which they consider a gift. I mean, there's a lot going on there. Like the woman. So let's go back to the beginning.
So
I think it's strange
Yeah.
because I know the premise of the movie is that she takes on this lamb. I didn't know it was a half human, half lamb at the time. She takes on this lamb as to pretend as a human child. I know that's the premise of the movie.
Yeah, to raise a lamb as a child.
So the beginnings of the movie make it very clear that they are not like overly sensitive about their animals. I think they go through great pains to show that like they're not even overly sensitive about the dog. They're not like crazy animal people.
No.
They're not like overly sensitive about the dog. They're not overly.
I think the dog's
about the
name is
cat.
Dog.
Yeah, even about the cat. There's certain things they do with the cat where they're just like, they don't treat the cat like a child. Even shows her birthing many lambs,
Mm-hmm.
like before this lamb is born. So you're like, oh, well, you know, they're not these like crazy animal people. They don't have like attachments to all these animals. And I think a lot of the beginning is showing that.
Well, I think they're farmers and they raise livestock. So
That's what they do.
They have a bunch of sheep, they have a dog, they have a cat. Even the dog serves the purpose and as like a sheep herder, if you will, and kind of roaming the area. But yeah, all their animals on the farm are just there to serve a purpose and it's part of the job. There's not that emotional attachment to their animals.
No, that's the word I was looking for. They don't have like emotional attachment.
But also what seems to be lacking is they're in almost this independent survival mode. They don't even seem to have much emotional attachment to anything.
Each
the couple.
other, even.
They both kind of go about their day doing their job together often, but they kind of work in silence.
Yeah, they don't really have much to talk about because they don't see anybody. Or they don't do anything other than their job. It's kind of mundane. And
yeah, they sit and read books when they have downtime, make their own meals for just themselves.
Yeah.
And they're kind of just going through the motions. I think you learn a little bit later that maybe their relationship had some struggles later on or earlier on. But with the emergence of this lamb, the special lamb, it kind of helps rekindle
their love for each
their
other.
passion, but then also their purpose, right? They're eating meals together, they're talking together, they're working together, they're caring for something together.
But a lot of that purpose is lost because at some point you realize they've lost a baby at some point.
You assume, they've
because
definitely.
they show the grave.
Yeah.
And they name the lamb after the baby.
They do, right?
So in my eyes, she was suffering like at first before I knew it was a lamb child. I thought, well, she's kind of gone crazy. She's suffering from like a PTSD from losing her baby or child, or you don't really know how old the baby or child was, or if it was even a miscarriage or what it was. There's a grave.
Yeah.
Like a small
Ada
cross.
or what? Right. Ada, which is also the name they named the lamb.
Like, okay, she's kind of lost it because she's suffering from some kind of like isolation and PTSD from losing the baby.
Yeah, trauma.
Get it. Like I feel bad, trauma. Yeah. But then the husband is in 100% to the treating the lamb as a baby.
Well, she definitely goes for it first.
Yeah.
He doesn't really question it, but then, I mean, it almost seems any character that interacts with the lamb does kind of fall in love with it. Like, you kind of accept it.
It's cute.
It's the cutest thing in the world.
I don't know if it's the cutest thing in the world.
Oh, my gosh.
But it's cute.
It is definitely cute. Walking around on its hind legs in children's clothing.
Well, it has legs.
Yeah, or human legs.
Human legs, yeah. and it has one human hand and one hoof.
And I'll say this, I know so we got that. They're in this place where they're just
That's
like,
so 3 years, like, I don't know, when the lamb is like 2 or 3 years old, that's when I realized it was human. I didn't realize it until then.
well, they keep it from you, the viewer, for so
Because
long.
it's swaddled up in a blanket,
Yeah.
usually. You only see its face, which looks like a lamb. It doesn't talk or anything.
It never talks.
No, it never talks. So
I
you're
feel like it said like Papa or Father at some point near the end, but it's hard to tell if it actually said that
Okay.
or not.
that may be you as a viewer getting
Oh yeah. Oh no, I don't know if it was the father.
entranced in the realism.
I don't know if it's the
of it.
father who said it or the lamb that
Hmm.
said it. But no, like apart from, yeah, it's obviously it sets it up. That's the other thing. The movie is super silent.
Mhm.
Like the first, I don't know, 30 to 45, maybe an hour. There's very little dialogue,
Yeah.
very
sure.
little music,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really good. It's like I feel it's captivating, just
It
watching
is
them
captivating.
raise
Yeah.
their sheep.
Their lamb baby.
Because all throughout the time, what's interesting too is they've taken this lamb inside and they got it in a crib and they're swaddling it.
And
they're
that's another way
carrying
you
it.
know there was a real baby.
Yeah, they
That's
had a
why
crib.
I'm thinking like it's just transfer of
Yeah.
feeling. Like they had a crib. It's not like they've ordered all this
No,
new
they dug the
stuff.
crib out of the barn.
Yeah.
But all throughout, when they have that lamb in their house in the crib, the mother sheep of the lamb
Mm.
is like distraught and angry.
Well, it's like mother's instinct.
It
She knows where the baby's inside and she's angry.
Yeah, it regularly leaves the barn and just like
Boz.
baws all night outside the window
Mm-hmm.
and all day. Like it's relentless. Like but it's like driving them crazy, especially the
The
mother.
mom.
Yeah,
The real mother, human mother.
yeah. Nomi Rapace, the actress.
Well, it would be like if you adopted a child and its real mother was standing outside going, "Give me my baby
No, you
back."
just took it. Not even
Give me
adopted.
my
You just
baby
took it. They
back.
just took it.
They just took it. They took the baby.
And the second
the
was, I mean,
lamb.
you can't leave that in the barn, I guess. But the second it was born, they took it.
And animals have strong instincts towards their
Yeah.
babies. You know, very strong instincts of smell and
But one thing I'll say,
hearing.
no, they do.
sound.
One thing I'll say to it that I thought was really interesting is I think they did a great job with the CGI or whatever of the baby lamb.
Oh, I do too.
Like, granted, it wore human clothes a lot. We're doing great.
You're doing great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Sour's great too.
Really good.
Yeah. Little
No,
karaoke.
we have a podcast.
podcasting.
We're recording a podcast.
Come on in. Listen, I love it. We're like batting
This
1,000
is the
now.
second time that someone has asked if
We
we're
did
doing
nearly
karaoke.
20 episodes, and no one was willing to talk to us with these microphones.
Yeah.
Now we're
Now
like
everyone
we've crossed
thinks
the
we are
threshold,
silently singing karaoke in
Which
their
which seems weird to me.
patio.
Well, we do
Who
have.
would do that?
If you look on our Instagram, we do have these outrageous colored microphone covers on our microphones that make it. Was this always my color, by the way?
Yeah.
The turquoise and your yellow? I couldn't remember. But if you look on our Instagram, we always have pictures of our microphone covers,
Yeah.
the weird colors. So we do stand out like a sore thumb. There's nothing discreet about what we're doing,
No.
though we're sitting outside. Well, saying the CGI for lamb
Yes.
is so impressive. Like, part of it I was watching, and for a movie that's not a big budget thing, and for a lot of times that you can tell, like, I convinced hook, line, and sinker that this was like a real lifelike.
Oh, after like the
Lamb
first
head.
10 minutes of realizing it was like a human lamb, I was in. I mean, completely
But I'm saying
in.
it looks so good.
Oh, it looks great.
It looks real,
Yeah.
like a real thing.
And the lamb's eyes are so poignant. Like you see emotion in the lamb's eyes.
Yeah.
But they look like real lamb's
The,
eyes.
the way they did the face, the way they did all of it,
It's
it
crazy.
feels like a big budget film,
For sure.
even though it's a tiny, small film.
Like, I kind of bought into the fact that this might really be able to happen. I mean, wait, let me ask you a question.
All right,
though.
ask
Let's
me a
have
question.
a discussion
Oh,
about
boy.
this. I mean, this might be X-rated, and you can cut it out of the podcast, but if a male human,
Biology doesn't work that way.
how do you know this?
Because you know it for a fact.
I was talking to my mom about it last night, and
Yeah.
she said, I said what you said. Biology doesn't work that way. And she's like, what do you mean it doesn't work that way? Of course it works that
No,
way.
there's no way it works that
If
way.
a sheep is ovulating and a male sperm
No.
has sex with a sheep that's ovulating, and
I'm
I
like-
said, well, don't they not? They just
They're not going to fertilize. It's not going to fertilize
It's not going to
the
fertilize.
egg.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, it could. I'm like, then why aren't there more?
Yeah, we would see other land babies.
Because people have
No, this
animal
is-
sex fetishes.
This is obviously which is funny. I like that the fact that the wife never even like looked at the husband like, what have you been doing with the sheep, right? Because that is the easy route to go. The one I liked about it was, like you said, this was a blessing, a miracle, a gift. She even calls it a gift later in the movie, but it was a gift.
A gift, maybe because they lost their
They
child.
lost the child.
A
and
gift for
it's-
taking care of the sheep so well.
It's this
or-
moment of just like we have something to kind of bring us together in love. That it's almost never even questioned.
discussed.
At least not on camera. It's just we accept it for what it is and we go as a symbol of recovering from a loss, like you said, a trauma. But then also it plays in, though I'm not well versed in this, but from what I gather and what I've picked up, it's also playing into like an ancient Icelandic myth
Oh,
about.
I'm not well versed
this.
in Icelandic.
And so the
myths
trailer, I feel
either.
hints at it. I haven't done my research. It's maybe
Okay.
something we should have researched. But so I feel with the loss and the longing for a baby,
Mhm.
coupled with this idea of, because like I said, they're in the mountains, there's the fog, this idea of like Icelandic myth and legend of this sort of hybrid
Yeah.
sheep
Oh no, I'm
man
sure there is some
people
Icelandic myth. We'd have to do our research on
that
that.
you would buy into it. That's kind of the story I said. So that's also why his characters, I don't think
I'm
they
sure it
even
is
questioned
connected
it.
to some kind of legend or myth
Yeah.
in some way. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
connected to like a legend because, well, we'll talk about
And
that
it's one
at
of
the
those
end.
like allegorical tales, right?
Yeah. We should have researched that.
Because
Don't
it's
have
also
time.
this idea of like the overwhelming, like you said, you took the sheep's child away, right? This
Yes.
idea of like the fear and anxiety of raising a child
Mhm.
and protecting a child, right? The husband has nightmares at night
Yes.
that Ada, the lamb, has
Disappears.
disappeared and he's
Yeah.
running through an endless.
Well, they constantly have a fear that the lamb is gone.
Yeah. But
Because
he-
probably because of the baby.
But he
That
wakes
they
up. Yeah, he
lost.
wakes up and he dreams about running through that like endless swamp
Hmm.
land.
And she
Looking
too. They
for
keep
Ada.
the lamb beside them, even
And-
when the lamb's like 3.
And she wakes up and it's always like, where's Ada? Where's Ada?
Where's
Ada?
Ada? Yeah.
So they have this overwhelming fear of keeping up with the child. And then even the sheep itself, the real mother sheep, she is like, it's this possessiveness of your child to protect it.
That's like the mother instinct.
That's what I mean.
you
Yeah, so I
know?
think that's a
Yeah.
big point of it.
Yeah.
And we even
Even
see
in
that later
animals,
in
yeah.
the end of the movie as well.
In mammals, typically.
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
So yeah, so the whole like, where does this baby come from? I was glad it doesn't go down that realm of like man
I
and
was
sheep.
glad it wasn't either, but it was my thought through half the movie. I was like,
Well, at some point you're almost expected. We always toss it
because then
sometimes.
even, so at some point, the brother comes
The brother of the husband.
of the husband
Mhm.
to visit. He doesn't know about this lamb baby. And they just kind of like bring it in as normal. And he is like, basically, what the fuck is that?
Hmm.
And the dad looks at him and says, this is happiness. And there's no discussion about it. He's like, I'm not discussing this with you.
Yeah.
Like, this is happiness. So
Well, that's
accept it or not,
yeah,
you
that's the
know?
thing. The brother shows up almost as the role of like the audience member,
Yeah.
like rational man. Excuse me. And it's like, aren't we going to talk about this sheep
Land
child
baby?
that you
Yeah.
have here? And it's like, no, we're not going to bring it up. It is what it is. Like, don't question it. Don't push it. But then again, what I thought was nice and interesting is even the brother who is um,
An outsider.
not even an outsider, like he doesn't understand or trust, or he thinks it's like almost like an abomination, this lamb. But then he comes to not only accept it,
That love
but
it.
yeah, be enamored by it as well.
Yeah. He
And
definitely
it's
does.
that like sort of like you said, it's about motherhood and parenthood, but it's also about like the innocence of a child.
Hmm.
And once you're exposed to that innocence, that uncorrupted nature,
Unless
you
there's something wrong with you, you kind of
you give into it. It
accept
crumbles.
it, love it, no matter what the circumstance. Unless you're just like a degenerate human being.
I was doing a quick search to see if anything about lambs, and half people showed up, but I didn't see anything.
Um, so the brother plays a really good role, I think, of just making it more interesting the movie because yeah, you want someone like you said, he's the audience point of view. You want someone to peek in on them and be like, "Hey, what's going on here?" Like what is happening?
Yeah, it almost justifies. He's a good character, and it justifies their decision to keep and raise the lamb. Like if
Mhm.
you're questioning it, he comes in there to present the argument of what are you doing, but then it almost reinforces that they've made the right choice for them.
Right for them. Hmm.
He's right. He is sort of the outsider. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
You guys been living in isolation. It's easy to go kind of crazy and lost in your own way.
Right.
And he's clearly not the. He's the modern. He wears leather
Guy.
jackets. He was in a new wave band,
Yeah.
so he's meant to be the urban, modern
City kid.
city perspective, even though he's in his 40s or 50s as
Right.
well. He's older, but he represents that like. No, I'm not some country folk raising sheep out here. That's not my life.
Yeah.
So, and it also hints at, without going into much detail, it hints at, yeah, there was some issues in the marriage in general,
Yes.
and some history that maybe the brother was involved
With the wife.
as well with the wife. Yeah.
That they had some kind of fling, relationship, affair, something happened in the past or pre-marriage or something,
Yeah. But it never
But
really
there
goes down
was
that road too much.
Yeah, it doesn't. It almost does.
No, but it just uses it to hint at like to let you know enough of what you need to know, context. But that's what I like about the movie. Everything about the movie gives you enough to understand the context, but it's never concerns itself with explaining things to you.
Yeah.
Like it never spells it out for you. It's
That's true.
like I said, there's very little dialogue in the whole movie.
Oh yeah, there's not much dialogue at all, which is good because yeah, you're left to figure out things as a viewer and interpret things on your own because you and I had very different interpretations up until the ending when it kind of all comes together. I was kind of thinking one way and you were thinking a different way.
Yeah.
I was thinking that the guy had sex with a sheep.
Oh. No, I never had that thought at all. But I think it's safe to say I think we both liked the film.
I liked it.
I can't wait to see it again. Like
I don't love seeing films more than once, but I liked it a lot.
to me, and I've talked about this on my other podcast, The Greatest Movies of All Time, It's
Shameless
funny how
plug.
recently there's been these livestock movies between A24
Oh,
and Neon
cow.
Pictures. They're so like soft.
First cow.
Yeah,
First
first cow. They're quiet. They're subtle.
Yeah.
They're slow burns. There's not much dialogue in them. But all three focus around this
Pig,
Also-
first cow,
pig, first
and
cow,
lamb.
and lamb.
That's hilarious.
They all focus around. They're presented in similar ways in the fact that they're, like I said, they're quiet, slow burn movies with very little dialogue, but they're all three about very different things.
Hmm. Different themes, yeah.
But at the same time, they're also all about these sort of human experiences,
Yeah.
right? That are focusing almost on these sort of beast of burdens, productivity, like they just serve a purpose, these creatures, right? Pigs, cows, sheep, these farmyard livestock. But they're also the movies out of a lot of things I've seen lately that I just want to keep watching. Like First Cow, I've seen 2 or 3 times. Pig, I saw 2 or 3 times.
Mhm.
And now I want to see Lamb 2 or 3 more times.
Mhm.
But the main
It's funny,
reason,
it's the movies with less dialogue that are more, tend to be deeper that you want to watch more often. Like less dialogue, less action, less
oh yeah, very.
going on.
Out of all 3, Lamb
That you-
has the least amount of action.
Yeah.
I mean, Lamb is literally them just on the sheep farm,
Yeah.
like doing daily tasks.
I mean, there's some shocking parts that there's an emergency. There's some shocking parts that make you, but yeah, overall it's a slow burn movie.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm just kind of interested in seeing it again now that we've seen it.
We loved it. It was a great night out at the cinema for us.
Yeah, well, we also saw it in St. Petersburg, Florida at the Green Light Cinema.
Yep, we loved
where
that.
we
We loved
saw
that place.
Zola.
We had great seats
Yeah.
where we saw Zola.
So that was a good plus as well.
Yeah, it's always
But,
fun to actually see something in the theater.
Well, to see a movie like that in the theater.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I think the big screen helps it. Though I think you can still enjoy it at home.
So it's the same actress from Zola, right?
No.
No.
No, you're thinking of a different film we saw, I think.
Oh.
Nomi Rapace is in the movie Prometheus.
Oh, yeah.
She was in Alien Covenant. She was in the original foreign Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, not the American-made one, the Swedish
Okay.
films. But
So what did we just see that I saw that actress in?
I'm not sure. Maybe it was The Guilty or one of the voices.
Who's the guilty? Oh, yeah, who's the guilty?
One of the voices.
We're not going to talk about that movie,
No, it was on Netflix. It's a pass. Yeah, so I think that's it. I do think we should cut the music. This will only be like a little 30 minutes. I think Lamb is so. It's a high recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny whenever we're thinking towards our end of the year, end of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Is like what are like we talked about. Well, I like our top 5 podcast films we talked about.
Oh, that'll be an episode.
So I'm always like, man, Lamb's going to be up there, I think, at this point.
Definitely.
But it's like, you never know what we'll see in between. But it's definitely one of the more favorite films I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I agree.
But one reason I really want to see it again is just I want to watch, I truly want to just like stare at the lamb child, those scenes.
You love him. Do you
'Cause
want a lamb child?
No, well, it does a good job of.
Her. It's a her, right?
It's a her.
Yeah.
They show it just enough, but they never too
know.
much.
I know. It's really crazy how they do it because it seems so like, I mean, it almost normalizes it at some point in the movie. Like, you're just like, okay, it's a lamb child, whatever.
My favorite is when it's like getting the dad, like the toast and the cereal in the morning.
Mhm.
You know, it's like dad gets up, and Ada gets and like is getting all the food for him and handing it to him with its human hand, but then also its lamb hoof.
Yeah.
Because one arm is still like a
And it's adapted to be able
yeah,
to carry
and
things
it's like
with
barely
that.
holding it and it lifts
My
it
favorite
up.
part is when they're in the bathtub. I'm like, oh God, this is
Oh yeah, the mom
the
and
mom and the lamb are in the bathtub together.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you might
With
be
a baby.
with
Mhm.
a baby, like a little toddler or whatever. But I was still like, oh my. They're like playing in the bathwater and whatnot. Interesting. You know what I thought?
What?
I thought for sure, 100% for sure, she was going to try to start breastfeeding that lamb.
Oh, that's one thing. Even though I never thought that, like, oh, how did the husband mess with the sheep? I never thought that, but I did think, oh, she would try to suckle
Yeah,
the lamb.
just for the feeling of
Mhm.
the baby. I definitely felt that 100% was going to happen, and it didn't.
Never happened.
Interestingly,
Never went that route.
they did not go that route.
All right, so I think what we're going to do is we'll let the music play.
Mhm.
So those who haven't seen it, like I said, we've done some minor spoilers, but I feel nothing that wouldn't enjoy the movie if you haven't seen it because it's a high
You would
recommendation.
enjoy it no matter what.
However, in typical A24 fashion, I'm thinking of Hereditary. I'm thinking of
The last 15 minutes is,
it changes.
yeah.
Tonally, it changes, and some might even classify it gets a label as
Or,
like a horrific tale about
okay.
motherhood and whatnot. So it takes that sort of unsettling, horrific feeling at the end.
Mhm.
And so I think we should talk about. So I've read a few things that some people love it, some people hate it, some people find it a letdown for a film that was building in such a particular direction, and then it goes that way near the end. So after the music ends, we'll come back
Come
for
back
those who
and talk
haven't
about
seen
the
it
ending.
and see what we thought. Because we haven't talked about the ending at all,
No,
right?
no,
Okay.
not at all.
All right, so we're back.
We're back.
Before we jump to the ending,
Yes.
one thing I do, which maybe we'll start doing on the podcast,
What?
I always like to jump at there's a website, letterbox.com, that I keep track of the movies I watch.
Oh, the comments.
And I always like to read people's reviews on Letterbox. So there's a couple, and I usually I gravitate towards the funny reviews
Silly.
than the serious ones.
Ridiculous.
But it's funny. It's sort of divisive. Some people really don't like it.
Really?
Given that it's October, one user, Hannah, called it Rosemary's Baby.
Babe. You
So
gotta say it like that.
I thought that was funny. I'll leave that to you. Another person said, if you just watch it for the lamb and her sweaters, then it's a perfect movie.
The mom sweaters?
I think it's the lamb sweaters.
Oh.
Because I wore that blue sweater all the time.
Yeah.
Lamb is the new black. And then my last one.
Generic.
There's the last one, which is by Jack, who gave it 4 stars. 2 moods watching this movie. 1, wow, this looks beautiful. Everything is understated but powerful. There are probably a lot of deep themes present that would require multiple viewings to fully comprehend. Number 2 mood, look at the lamb child in a sweater. People love the lamb. That's what I'm
I might
saying.
have to watch it again just to look at the sweaters. I was not as keen on the sweaters.
Oh, I was looking at it for sure. Another one called it Grazing Arizona.
Oh, shit.
That's pretty good. Right?
Funny.
Grazing Arizona. So,
Funny.
big movie spoiler. The end of it.
Yep.
Did you? Well,
Well,
did
can
you
we-
like it?
I loved it.
You liked how it ended?
Oh, well, it altered my thinking of the whole throughout the whole movie.
So does it?
I don't love the ending. No, I
Do
do
you
not love
love?
the
Do
ending.
you not love the ending because the father dies, or do you not love the ending because it revealed that this is some weird Icelandic folktale?
It's like Bigfoot, kind of like
Yeah,
Icelandic,
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch, Bigfoot, kind of Icelandic folk. I I didn't dislike that. It was unexpected, and it was not like it was like, okay. Here's what I felt
How'd you feel?
as a mom, and I'm not even a mom of a lamb baby.
Brings up brings
felt
up big questions about parenthood.
Fearful for that little lamb, Ada, walking off with Bigfoot, lamb Bigfoot.
Well, it walks away with an
Lambified
adult lamb
version of
man.
And
Or
this
sheep man.
lamb she's
A ram or something.
She's
It has, like-
terrified. I feel terror in her eyes.
So
I mean, she's sad. Look, you know how her father's shot by this lamb monster beast, and she's laying on her dad, like, whimpering.
it's shot.
And all of a sudden, he takes her hand and leads her away, and
It's-
it feels. I'm thinking, even though this is a lamb, I'm thinking, what if that was my kid?
True, but
Being led away into nothingness with a lamb monster.
the lamb's father is killed by the lamb's biological father, who's come to retake
Right.
his son back.
Daughter.
Or daughter, I'm sorry, daughter, right? Has come to reclaim his daughter
True.
because his child was taken from him.
That is true.
Which again brings up that question of like, yeah, we know Ada the lamb is being cared for by its parents,
But it's not really your
but
parents.
it's not really his parents. It was, and that's why the original mother sheep, who's constantly harassing the house, where's my, buying outside of the window.
Yeah.
And what does the human mother do? She shoots and
Shoots the
kills the
mother.
mother and buries it. So it's like, who's the right? The father
Who's the
sheep
savage
man
there?
does the same thing she did.
Yeah.
In that it kills the father and takes the child back.
And I think there's some kind of, can't think of the word, but there's some kind of like acceptance in this by the child, however that can be. And when the lamb baby, Ada, goes into the barn when her parents are kind of partying that
Yeah.
night and looks in the mirror and
Yeah.
looks at the photo or the other sheep and is like, wait a minute, I don't look like my parents.
Yeah, there's a little,
Like,
it's not that it's comical, but it's a little bit this of like, yeah, I identify with the sheep, right? And there's this whole like man versus sheep motif throughout the movie,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, she doesn't identify with her parents all of a sudden, even though she's literally like between 3 and 5 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
But even that, there's like the pictures, right? The menacing pictures of just the herd of sheep and like the one farmer in the picture.
yeah.
And like the camera slowly zooms in on it and it makes all that like sheep noises.
Mhm.
And there's the couple scenes of just the fog in the mountains and like a sheep staring down the camera. Like it
Yeah.
almost makes them look menacing. But it's this idea of we are controlled by man.
But we have feelings and,
Yeah.
we are individuals and have feelings.
And here are two
whatnot.
people that took our child
Yeah.
and we want it back.
And these, they're treating us like animals.
Yeah.
Like we don't count or we're not individuals or we're not,
So is this sort of like I said, that sort of folk tale, what's the moral, what's the thing, like don't mess with nature or motherhood or parenthood, like the will of a parent to protect their child, just like the humans want to protect Ada, so do the sheep, like they want to protect
they wanna
Ada.
bring their own kind back.
Yeah, so it presented an interesting thing. I did find it interesting because right before the father dies, and Ada's taken back by the sheep man. It's hard to say whatever you call it, um, which is pretty darn scary looking. But
He's huge.
as they're going out, he's doing that fatherly thing. He's teaching Ada, how do you find home? Like when you're lost, right? Make sure, he says like make sure the mountains behind you when you're walking, or vice versa, and then the mountains in front of you on your way home, so you always know how to get home. If it's too foggy, listen for the river, go to the river and follow the river home.
Yeah.
Right? Which I had this hope, which I rarely do. A lot of times I have these endings where I'm like, oh, I like it. You don't quite know how it's going to end, right? Because it ends with the mother finding the dead husband, Ada gone. And she just like
the
stares.
Dog's dead.
The
She's
dog's
all by
dead.
herself out there.
And she just stares
Into nothingness.
Tears in her eyes, and movie ends.
Yeah.
But I kept thinking, well, Ada knows how to get home now. Like,
I didn't even think
if
that.
Ada wants to escape, Ada can return, right? And maybe that's left for the viewer at this point, but I was hoping that it would cut to a scene of like Ada emerging, like, I know how to get home. Or the mother wanders back to the house defeated and Ada returns.
He's there.
Because then has picked,
I didn't think that at all.
do you pick nature over nurture, right? Do you pick your nature and your kind, or do you pick where you've had the love and the nurturing from, right? Because that's also, we see that stuff in real life. People gravitate towards
nurture.
Well, sometimes no, they reject nurture sometimes, and they gravitate towards their nature, or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Even though they are loved and cared for somebody,
I think
they might
go
reject that because they identify with some other personal characteristic, or the other way. But in this, I think there's a little bit of that. I don't think we know what Ada's going to do. Well, is Ada too much like
I think she's too young.
them and wants to return, or whatever? But
I think she loved her parents. She was definitely nurtured and coddled. But I think she's too young to escape.
oh, I agree. I mean, that's the thing. That was my hope. Rarely do I get in that trap.
It'd be one thing if she was like a teenage Ada.
No.
Teenage Ada lamb.
Yeah.
Sheep.
That's what I mean. Rarely do I get in that trap where I'm like, give me 5 more
You
minutes.
want
Give me
something
5
else.
more
You never
movies.
do that.
I
I'm
know.
the person that does that. But I didn't do that with this. I was like, like that's disappointing. I mean, not disappointing as an ending, but disappointing that, I mean, it was bothersome that she was just taken away by this monster.
It was, but I agree with you. I think one of the really good things about the movie exploiting our own feelings. We want this to be sort of a feel-good movie about a couple rekindling their passion and raising a child, even if it happens to be a
lamb.
Lamb child, right? We want that. We see that in American cinema all the time. But if you really think about it, not one moment ever in this movie was feel good. It was always a little unnerving, a little uncomfortable, a little weird, a little strange. So of course it has to end with reminding you, like, no, nothing about this situation was ever good.
Yeah.
And they were never in a good place. And the universe, the sheep, whatever it is, they reminded them of that. And they took back what they
I also
stole.
think the director wants you to feel about Ada as her human parents felt about her.
No, so I mean, yeah, you get sucked in.
They want you
yeah.
to feel about a lamb baby like you might feel about a normal child.
And you do, and it's like
and
I
you
said,
do.
it's
you
the,
actually do by the end. You're like, oh.
Yeah, it's the cutest movie character you've seen in a long time.
True.
But even the opening scene of the movie is unsettling. It's the fog, it's the mountains, and it's the sheep just staring you down. And it returns to that at the end. And so that was thinking, that's why I thought the ending, yeah, it was a bit over the top, a bit in your face. and unexpected. You didn't expect, one, the dad to get shot,
No.
and then number two, you didn't expect it to be a huge
Monster sheep.
sheep man, naked, standing there.
Yeah, the only thing I can relate it to is like Bigfoot or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. With a
But-
lamb face.
But then I thought, then I was thinking, like, no, that's how it's one of these things, right? It's one of, you have to think about it. Thinking about the overall situation, there's no good way out of this thing ever. Like, if a lamb child appears in your barn, things aren't going to end well.
Yeah.
If you,
But let's think about the opposite decision. Let's play devil's advocate here.
what? It'd be easy.
The opposite decision is that they left the lamb child to be raised by the lambs.
Or you kill it.
Or you,
Like
no.
it's the runt of a litter or an unhealthy baby.
Well,
No, beginning is because, like you said at the beginning, they don't care about livestock and animals in an emotional way. And you would say, oh, this is a weird abomination. Kill it, bury it, move on. Which also might have sparked the anger of the sheep lamb god.
No.
too.
I'm talking about the opposite reaction of, okay, just leave it to be raised as a lamb.
Yeah.
How does that work? I mean, that's not a good decision either.
No, but
Because it's half human.
but what we learned by the end of the
And
movie,
does it survive on grass?
well, what we learned by the end of the movie is that if they had left it,
It would've died.
that in the night the
Oh,
sheep
lamb
man would have come and got it.
come and got it. And it
Is what
lived
I
in their
assume.
sheep man community.
yeah.
Wherever that is.
In the mountains
In
somewhere.
Iceland.
Yep. the Icelandic mountains in the mist and snow.
Gotcha. Yeah.
No,
he
but I
would've
agree with you.
come
I
got
agree
it,
with you.
Yeah.
They couldn't have just left it in there.
Right.
either.
Like, what would have been the other choice?
Yeah.
And I guess killing it would be a choice. I never thought about that as a choice because seeing that, yeah, it's a run of a litter, but it has human qualities. And for a human to kill something with human qualities takes a lot of mania.
Well, that was
or-
the thing. Anybody who looked at it was, and like we said before, was instantly
enamored by it.
its innocence and
Mhm.
its being. That it seemed like this sort of gift,
Yeah,
or whatever they
I
call
agree.
it. So. All right, I know I've seen a couple. Like I said, this seems to be a movie some people have not been thrilled about,
I don't know why.
based on the reviews or based
I'm
on
not
the
gonna
ending.
agree with them.
No, I think
I
it was a great
liked it.
movie. I think it was great. It's huge.
I liked it a lot.
But again, I like any kind of movie that,
Veers from the common path.
yes, is trying to just tell an interesting story.
It's interesting.
And this is definitely interesting.
I like it.
So maybe we'll watch it again soon.
Maybe.
All right. I think that's it for us.
Yeah.
Unless
That
there's
was a
other
good,
things
that
to
was
say.
a good one.
Of course it was. It was great. All right. Well, cheers.
Cheers. Hey, that was kind of weak. Let's try again.
It was only kind of weak because this is the refill
Full.
of the sour, and they're full.
Our glasses are full now.
We got a refill
It's Monday.
right before the part 2.
That's right.
When we came back after the thing.
That's right.
All right. Well,
All right,
Lamb,
well,
go see it. Go
It was
rent
fun.
it. And yeah, we'll go from there.
We'll see you again soon.
right.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.